Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please consider subscription. So today we are going to learn about making of the national movement of India after the first war of independence, after the 1857 revolt. What are the changes that have come? How the leadership changed? How the Congress party was formed? What are the movements that were taken? What are the reasons for the failure of the movements? These all we are going to discuss in this video lecture. Let us start learning. So, making of the national movement from 1870s to 1947. So, what are the subtopics that we are going to cover in this chapter? As you can see here, the first subtopic is the emergence of nationalism, followed by the nation in the making, the growth of the mass nationalism. How did the concept of nationalism reach to the masses? Then we will further discuss about the advent of Mahatma Gandhi, the arrival of Gandhiji. Then the initiatives which are taken by People's Mahatma. Then we will discuss the happenings of 1922 to 1929, March to Dandi, Quit India movement, and later towards the independence and partition. So these are the subtopics in this video module. So please stay tuned and watch till the end of the video. As you can see on the screen here, India was the people of India, irrespective of class, color, caste, creed, language or gender. Even its resources and systems are meant for all of them. India has plenty of resources. India is made up of lot of natural resources because India is having a large area as its territory. It has 32 lakh square kilometers. So let us learn how Indians became united, cutting across all the classes, color, caste, creed, language and gender. So we are going to learn the emergence of nationalism. The British were exercising control over the resources of India, and the lives of its people are becoming miserable day by day. As the days are passing by, the situation started to become worse, especially began to be clearly stated by the political associations formed after 1850. So because after the revolt of 1857, the Britishers tried to suppress all kinds of movements which are happening in India. That was the time when all people were waiting for some political association to be formed. It was the time when people want a platform to show their discontentment, dissatisfaction against the system which is being imposed on them. Indians are considered as foreigners in their own land. So people are looking clearly, consciously for some kind of platform where they can show. The important ones were the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, the Indian Association, the Madras Mahajan Sabha, the Bombay Presidency Association and the Indian National Congress. So what are the associations that are being formed from 1870s to 1880s? First to name is Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. Then in the row we have the Indian Association, the Madras Mahajan Sabha, then the Bombay Presidency Association and the Indian National Congress. These were the political associations which emerged in the later part of the 19th century. How many associations were there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There were 5 political associations which were formed after 1857 revolt during 1870 to during 1880. That is how the emergence of the nationalism started to form after the formation of the political associations after 1870. These associations functioned in specific parts of the country, and their goals were stated as the goals of all the people of India. Now, we need to understand here, as the names are suggesting of the associations, Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, Bombay Presidency, they are confined to their particular specific parts. They are operating in their own areas only. But the goals of these particular organizations or associations are being said or stated as the goals of the people of India. So it was not able to reach to the larger sections of people. It is confined only to smaller areas, to the areas where they were established, like in Pune, in Bombay, like that. They believed that Indian people should be empowered to take decisions regarding their affairs. So the key point here for all the associations, what was their demand? The demand was that Indian people should be empowered. Indian people should be trained. Indian people should be given a chance to decide what has to be implemented in their own country towards them. Whether they have to travel abroad, if there is any military rule that has been imposed or any kind of codes are being brought in place, let the Indians decide. It's not the foreigners who will decide for India and give it to India. That is the main objective of the associations. Let us see what happened then. The Vernacular Press Act, for an example, if you see, in 1878, the Vernacular Press Act was passed. What is this act? This act is made on the guidelines of Irish press laws. So what are these Irish press laws? The Irish press laws, where there is a severe control on the printing press, on the publication of the information, on the guidelines of those or a replica of those acts. There was a similar act which was made, is Vernacular Press Act and the Arms Acts. Any Indian is not allowed to possess any kind of arms. That is the main motto behind bringing the Act of 1878 Arms Act. Similarly, in the same year, there was one more act, that is Vernacular Press Act, which is a copy of Irish press laws, where there is a severe control which is to be brought on the printing press by the Britishers. So, two acts were passed in 1878. The Arms Act, which makes Indians not to possess any kinds of arms, disallowed Indians from possessing any kinds of arms. During the same year, the Vernacular Press Act was enacted in an effort to silence, to stop the voices of those who were critical of the government. Whose voices are to be silenced? The voices of the people, those who are criticizing the acts of the government, especially the Britishers' acts, the officers' acts. So they brought these two laws. You need to make a note or need to have a notepad to note down quickly the points. The first act, 1878 Arms Act, and the same year 1878 the Vernacular Press Act. Arms Act disallowed the Indians from possessing any kind of arms. Similarly, the Vernacular Press Act was brought with a motto to silence those who criticize the government activities. Under this act, the government was also allowed to confiscate the assets of the newspapers, including their printing press, if anything that was published was found objectionable. Government has got extraordinary powers through this Vernacular Press Act, because after this act has been passed, government is also allowed to confiscate to take the property and the assets of the newspapers or the publishing houses who are publishing any information which is objectionable to the East India Company or the Britishers. Because after the 1858, 1857, there was no East India Company's control there. So it is directly controlled by the British Queen. We all have to agree the British Queen's authority after 1858. So if the Britishers feel something objectionable is being printed in a particular newspaper called X, the government will have rights to confiscate that particular publishing house or the newspaper's printing press. So this is a severe clause which is mentioned in Vernacular Press Act. In the row we have Ilbert Bill as well, introduced in the year 1883. In 1883, a bill was introduced by Ilbert Bill, where he is the man on the screen whom you are seeing there. So according to the system of law, European could not be tried or could be tried only by a European judge or a European magistrate. So this disqualification was considered as unjust, and it was sought to cast a needless discredit and dishonor upon the Indian-born members of the judiciary. So this law clearly states that the Europeans have to be tried or interrogated or be the court members. Even if they are accused, they should be judged only by European judges, European magistrates, British magistrates only. No Indian magistrate, no Indian judge can pass a judgment against a European. To be precise, the Britisher. This disqualification was considered as unjust. It was sought to cast a needless discrimination, discredit, dishonor upon the Indian-born members of the judiciary. C.P. Ilbert, law member, introduced a bill in 1883 to abolish this discrimination in judiciary. Europeans opposed this bill strongly and even raised a fund of 1,50,000 rupees and established an organization called the Defence Association. The Ilbert Bill was introduced, which provided for the trial of the British or the European persons by Indians and sought equality between the British and the Indian judges in the country. So the origin of the Indian National Congress. The Indian National Congress was established in December 1885. The early leaders were Dadabhai Naoroji, Feroz Shah Mehta, Babruddin Tayabi, W.C. Banerjee, Surendranath Banerjee, Romesh Chandra Dutt, S. Subramania Iyer, and among others, largely belong to Bombay and Calcutta region. On 28th of December 1885, the day has come for the origin of the Indian National Congress Party. This was the first political party to be established in India. You can see the picture on the screen as well. A nation in the making. In the first 20 years, the Congress demanded Indians in the government and in administration. So the Congress Party in the first 20 years, that is from 1885 to 1905, the first 20 years, they demanded that the Indians should be a part of the government. Indians should be the members and take key role in administration. They wanted to be the members of Legislative Council, where there will be more representation of Indians, which will make them more powerful, and that can be introduced in the provinces where none existed. It demanded Indians to be placed in high positions in the government. So in the first 20 years, Congress demanded Indians in the government and in administration. It wanted the legislative councils to be more representative than nominative. The Indian council members were nominated by the Britishers. So they don't want that. They want to be elected Indian representatives and more powerful. and introduced in provinces where there were no legislative councils. So it demanded Indians to be placed in the higher positions in the government. That was the initial demand of the Congress party in the first 20 years after its formation in 1885 to 1905. That is considered as a moderate phase or the first phase of Congress. The demand of Indianization of administration. You need to remember the word Indianization. They want Indians to be in the administration, Indians to be in the high positions, was against racism since most important jobs were monopolized by the white officials, but the Britishers only gave high positions to the white members or European members or the Britishers only. Indianization of administration did not happen in reality. Indianization would reduce the drain of the wealth to England. That is the reason why they did not make the Indian administration or appoint the Indian officers in the higher positions. Included the separation of the judiciary from the executive, the repeal of the Arms Act, and the freedom of speech and expression. So apart from demanding Indianization of the administration, which could stop the draining of wealth from India to England, the other demands which the Congress has made was the separation of judiciary from the control of the executive and to repeal the Arms Act and the freedom of speech and expression. These were the other demands of the Congress party in the initial years. Later, the Congress raised a number of economic issues. The British rule led to poverty and terrible famines. They demanded reduction of revenue, cut in the military expenditure, and more funds for irrigation. The Congress also tried to raise certain questions against the British administration. One is that due to the British policies, there is a severe poverty and terrible famines happening year after year. And they demanded to reduce revenue, cut in the military expenditure, and spend more funds for irrigation facilities. The Congress also passed a resolution on the salt tax, treatment of the Indian laborers abroad, and the sufferings of the forest dwellers. So Congress highlighted a number of issues, not only economic but also the political issues. Mainly they brought into light what are the problems that the Indians are facing due to the British rule. One, there are severe problems like poverty, famines, and so please try to reduce the revenue, cut the expenditure which is being spent on military, allocate more funds for irrigation, improve the irrigation facilities. Congress party also passed such resolutions on the salt tax, treatment of the Indians which is meted to the members of the Indians who were working abroad, labor abroad, and also the sufferings of the forest dwellers due to the forest laws which are brought by the British. Like this, Congress has raised a number of questions in front of the British administration or British ruling. Now the moderate leaders published what are the methods that the Congress people used to follow when they were questioning the Britishers. Because just we saw how the Congress party has brought so many issues to light. The moderate phase is nothing but the period from 1885 to 1905. So the moderate leaders published newspapers, wrote articles, showed how British rule was leading to the economic ruin of the country. They felt that the British had respect for the ideas of freedom, justice, so they would accept the demands of the Indians. The Congress leaders believed that the Britishers were the oldest democratic country in the world, so they had respect for the ideals of freedom and justice. So, whatever concerns or demands we raise, the Britishers will definitely accept. This is what the Congress leaders believed from 1885 to 1905 during the moderate phase. That is the reason why they published a number of articles in the newspapers and showed how the British policies are ruining the economic wealth of the country and how the economic wealth is going drained to England. That is what the Congress people believed initially. Freedom is my birthright, or freedom is our birthright. Many Indians raised questions against the political style of the Congress. As I told you just now, the initial leaders, the moderate phase leaders like Gopal Krishna Gokhale, these people believed that Congress is giving the petitions, Congress is following the petitions and protest methods where the Britishers will accept our demands. But even after 20 years, there was no change. So many Indians now started to raise questions against the political style of the Congress. In Bengal, in Maharashtra, in Punjab, there are new leaders who emerged in the Congress like Lal Bal Pal, Bipin Chandra Pal, Bal Gangadhar Tilak and Lala Lajpat Rai. Criticized the moderates for their politics of prayers. Please do not pray. Emphasize on the importance of self-reliance and constructive work. So they started to oppose them and they formed as a group saying the Lal Bal Pal group, who demanded that freedom is not given to us by somebody. It is our birthright. Bal Gangadhar Tilak proudly gave this slogan, freedom is my birthright. Swaraj mera janma adhikar hai. So why should I request the Britishers to do that? So there are questions which are being raised against the political style of the Congress from 1905. From there, the second phase starts. That is called the extremist phase from 1905 to 1919. So freedom is our birthright is a slogan which started to catch up lines everywhere. So Bengal got partitioned in 1905, which was the biggest province of the British India. The British divided the Bengal for a reason of administrative convenience. As you can see on the screen, the biggest province of British India was Bengal region. Bengal region was divided into two parts, eastern part and the western part of the Bengal region. The reason stated was administrative convenience, but the British wanted to remove or suppress any kind of revolts which are happening, because Bengal is the place where it is very active with the issues. The British, instead of removing the non-Bengali areas from the province, separated East Bengal and merged it with the Assam region. So the partition of Bengal happened in 1905. The moderates and the radicals opposed the partition of Bengal, and the mass protest and large public meetings led to the Swadeshi movement, strongest in Bengal and in the deltaic regions of Andhra. It is also known as Vande Mataram movement. So, in a protest to the partition of Bengal, the mass protest started and large meetings were conducted, and that movement is called Swadeshi movement. There was a severe protest in Bengal and deltaic Andhra region. It was known as Vande Mataram movement. So the moderates and the radicals opposed the partition of Bengal. The mass protest in large meetings happened, and everywhere you can see the agitation which is happening here, and you can see the cracks on the screen in this region where the Bengal has been divided into East Bengal and West Bengal. Today, the present day Bangladesh is the East Bengal region, and the West Bengal still remains in India today. So after 1919, the struggle against the British rule gradually became a mass movement. It involved peasants, tribals, students, women, in large numbers, and occasionally even factory workers also joined the movement. So after 1919, there was a mass movement happening, and it involved the people of peasants, tribals, students, women, and the factory workers. Till that time, it was confined only to the political leaders, political methods of prayer, petition. Then it came for the partition of Bengal, which agitated all the people and triggered anger in most of the Indians. So they led the Swadeshi movement or Vande Mataram movement in 1905, and later on, from then, people started to gradually participate in the national movement struggle. After the First World War, India's economic and political situation got altered, which led to a huge rise in the defense expenditure of the government of India. In the World War I, the British India also participated in that. Many of the Indian soldiers also went and fought against the Axis powers. So that led to the rise in the huge funds or defense expenditure of the government of India. The taxes on the individual incomes and the business profits were increased a lot. During the war, the Indian industries, the positive point of the World War I was the Indian industries expanded and Indian business groups began to demand greater opportunities for development. The war also demanded expansion of the British Army. In 1917, there was a revolution even in Russia. So that also gave inspiration for people, especially the factory workers, the working class, to fight against the ruling class. Mahatma Gandhi emerged as mass leader. He arrived in India in 1915 from South Africa. Gandhi led Indians in a different way against the Britishers. Gandhiji gave the method of non-violent marches, non-violent methods against the racist restrictions. His South African campaigns has brought him in contact with various types of Indians. While Gandhiji was living in South Africa, he fought against the same Britishers on the policy of apartheid, which has been followed against the colored and the white people. So Gandhiji has followed a non-violent method even there. He spent his first years traveling throughout the country and understand the people, to know their needs, to know the overall situation of the country. He traveled across the entire nation and he went in touch or contact to the people and understood what is the actual situation that is happening in the country, what is the need of the hour, and what is the overall situation at that point of time. The Rowlatt Act or Rowlatt Satyagraha. In 1919, Gandhiji called for Satyagraha. Satya means truth. The anger of the truth. Agraha means angry. The anger of the truth against the Rowlatt Act. What is this Rowlatt Act? The Rowlatt Act, the act curbed the fundamental rights such as the freedom of expression and strengthened the police powers. So according to the Rowlatt Act, anybody can be arrested without any trial. They can be imprisoned for nearly 2 years, which is against the freedom of expression. So Gandhiji and people of India observed 6th April 1919 as a day of non-violent opposition to this act. Gandhiji wanted to educate all the Indians to follow non-violent methods. So he called upon the nation to observe 6th April 1919 as a day of non-violent opposition to this act. Satyagraha Sabhas were set up to launch the movement. There were Satyagraha Sabhas or meetings which were set up to take this movement ahead. In April 1919, there were a number of demonstrations and hartals in the country, and the government used brutal measures to suppress them. So on the call of Gandhiji, many people came outside and they started to demonstrate their anger in a peaceful way. There were demonstrations and there were hartals in the country, and the government used brutal measures to suppress them. The Jallianwala Bagh atrocities inflicted by General Dyer in Amritsar on Baisakhi Day, that is on 13th of April, were a part of this repression. So during the Rowlatt Satyagraha, the participants ensured that Hindus and Muslims were united against the British rule. So one more thing which needs to be done was the unification of Hindus and Muslims. So that was truly happening after the Rowlatt Satyagraha, where Hindus and Muslims started to come together, united against the British rule. Mahatma Gandhi saw India as a land of all people who lived in this country, Hindus, Muslims, and those of other religions. This is a land of all those who live in this country. It is not a land of Hindus alone. It is not a land of Muslims alone. It is a land of all the people who live. It is Hindus, Muslims, and those of all the other religions. So in 1920, the British imposed a harsh treaty on the Turkish Sultan or Khalifa. The leaders of the Khilafat agitation, Mahmud Ali and Shaukat Ali, initiated a full-fledged non-cooperation movement. Gandhiji sought this as a reason, and he wanted to use this opportunity to unite Hindus and Muslims and bring them all on one platform. Gandhiji supported their movement and urged the Congress to campaign against Jallianwala Bagh massacre and the Khilafat wrong, and they demanded Swaraj. So Gandhiji in 1920, when the Britishers have imposed a harsh treaty on Khalifa, the religious head of Muslims, the leaders of the Khalifa agitation or Khilafat agitation, Khilafat opposite to that, uske khilaf hai. So Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali initiated a full-fledged non-cooperation movement. Gandhiji want to use this situation, and Gandhiji want to bring Hindus and Muslims together on a single platform, and he want to unite both of them and make a large force against the Britishers, where on the other side, Britishers want to follow the policy, divide and rule the policy. They want to create disturbances for Hindus and Muslims, and they want to take the advantage. So Gandhiji want to counter that particular policy of the Britishers. So Gandhiji supported their movement and urged the Congress to campaign against the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, the Khilafat wrong, and demanded Swaraj. The non-cooperation movement gained momentum in 1921 and 22. The British titles were surrendered and boycotted the legislatures. The imports of the foreign cloth fell drastically between 1920 and 1922. So the non-cooperation movement started to reach to many sections of people during 1921 and 1922. The British titles which are given to the honorary titles which are given to the Indians by the Britishers were surrendered back to the Britishers, and they boycotted the legislature. They also stopped to import the foreign cloth into India. Large parts of the country were on the brink of a formidable revolt. So it's just a spark away that there is going to be a massive revolt in 1922. Some people resisted the British rule non-violently. People from different classes and the groups interpreted Gandhiji's call in their own manner. I repeat, people from different classes and groups interpreted, misunderstood Gandhiji's call in their own manner, protested in many ways that were not in accordance with the ideas of Gandhiji. In some cases, people linked their movement to the local grievances as well. So we need to understand here, the point is, Gandhiji gave a call for a non-violent protest, non-cooperation. But people of different regions, different castes, different categories, different classes, different regions people have interpreted that in their own manner and added to that their local grievances and protested in a different way where Gandhiji did not permit for that. Gandhiji always insisted people to oppose the Britishers in a non-violent way only, whereas it was not followed in some areas. In Kheda, the Patidar peasants organized a non-violent campaign, as you can see on the screen here, the Kheda region in Gujarat, against the highlands revenue demand of the British. In coastal Andhra and interior Tamil Nadu, liquor shops were picketed. In Guntur district of Andhra Pradesh, tribals and the poor peasants staged a number of forest satyagrahas and sometimes sending their cattle into forest without paying grazing fee. Now we need to understand here, in Kheda, they have a non-violent campaign. In coastal Andhra, interior Tamil Nadu, the liquor shops are being picketed peacefully, and a district called Guntur in Andhra Pradesh, the tribals and the poor peasants show by sending their cattle into forest without paying any grazing fee. Now they are going against the British laws, but in a peaceful way. They are not following the British law. They want to show their anger. So they are doing the things which are against the Britishers' policies. In Sindh, Muslim traders and peasants were enthusiastically or the Khilafat call. In Bengal, the Khilafat Non-Cooperation Movement Alliance gave enormous community strength or the communal strength and to the national movement as well. In Punjab, the Akali agitation of the Sikh sought to remove corrupt Mahants from their Gurudwaras. So it is not only in Gujarat region, in Andhra region, in Tamil Nadu region, in Sindh region in the north, and also in Punjab, people started to follow the methods which were given by Gandhiji and also started to support the movements which are given by Gandhiji, the Khilafat Non-Cooperation Movement. The Khilafat Non-Cooperation Movement not only reached to people, but it also brought the communities united. The Hindus and Muslims became united and became a strength to the national movement, which was the vision of Gandhiji in giving this particular movement call. Gandhiji also believed in building unity, not class conflict. Gandhiji wanted to build all the classes together. Peasants believed that Gandhiji would help them in fighting against the zamindars, and the agricultural laborers believed he would provide them land at the end of the powerful movement. The peasants of Pratapgarh in the United Provinces managed to stop illegal eviction of tenants, but they felt it was Gandhiji who had won these demands for them.